Angela, and welcome to my channel, Angie the ENTJ. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so you'll know whenever I upload any new content. So, a couple of our viewers, Sarah and Truther 7772 or 7772, left some interesting comments on the last video I uploaded, which was a reaction against the viral BBL smells video. Sarah's name is obviously feminine. Truther, I'm assuming that you are a woman. If I am wrong, it is not on purpose, but I'm assuming with the with your name and your picture appears to be a woman's legs and leggings, I'm assuming that you're a woman. But if you're not, please accept my apology in advance. So let's get into it. First, I'll read Sarah's comment, which says, "Thank you for calling out this ridiculousness. Let me ask you this. Why am I getting the feeling that this guy is not only lying, but telling a tall tale from his past when he was stanky? The vibe I'm getting is that he's trying to be a nice guy for one, but he's actually attempting to make himself feel better about himself by negging this beautiful woman he was talking about. If I had a stamp, I'd stamp him as a joke." And thank you, Sarah, for that comment that also enveloped a question that I will seek the answer here shortly. Now, let me read Truther 7772's comment, and I'm just going to call you Truther from now on. Truther says, "Also, this Pookie looks like a secret FTM, standing for a secret female to male transgender." Truther is pointing out oval head, close together set eyes, large glasses, and big hat to make her appear masculine, and a lace front beard. Yes, it is the rainbow colored people creating chaos. And what Truther is speaking to is there's a segment of the video where I pointed out that there is a handful of people in the rainbow community that is creating chaos, and sometimes their chaos spills over into the straight community. It was not indicative of all rainbow people, but just a certain few, like your Bridget Zieglers. And I feel that this person with their BBL smell rumor, they are indicative of that as well. So, okay. So, thank you both, Sarah and Truther, for your comments. And I thank everyone who tunes in, who comments, and I invite dialogue into the comment section as well. So, thank you all for your support. Now, let me speak to Sarah for a second. And the first thing that came to my mind was to compliment you on your good intuition, because you acknowledged that your intuition, that is, was ignited. Now, on to Truther, because you are highly observant, which again is tied to our feminine instincts and our intuition, I think you are both onto something here. And the next thing is that when I read your comment / question, the image that immediately popped up in my mind was of the so-called panhandler murder in Baltimore, where it turns out the husband was the main culprit all along, and his daughter Valeria was an accomplice. So let me jog everyone's memory back to 2018, when Keith Smith of Baltimore, Maryland, alleged that his then wife Jacqueline Smith was attempting to give a female panhandler $10, and this female panhandler was holding a baby when a man came through and stabbed Jacqueline to unalivement while Keith was in the driver's side of the vehicle. This shook up the entire city of Baltimore, and it kind of spilled over through the nation. Even Oprah weighed in on the tragedy. And panhandlers nationwide did not get money for a while because of this. Well, as it turns out, Keith Smith, who professionally worked as a truck driver at the time, was married to Jacqueline, who was way above his tax bracket. She's an accomplished woman, an educated woman who worked as an engineer for the Army Corps of Engineers, I believe. So he wanted her life insurance policy, and he unalived her by, butchering her multiple times with a knife while she was asleep on the passenger side of the car that he was driving and probably that she owned outright. And if that's not enough, his daughter Valeria Smith assisted with the cover-up, allegedly. So let's fast forward a bit. Why am I bringing up Keith and Valeria Smith? It's because when questioned about who unalived Jacqueline, Keith said that it was a man, and along the lines there was a woman, and the woman had a baby, and they were panhandlers. Basically, Keith, whether it was a subconscious thing or not, was essentially describing himself. He was nowhere on the level of Jacqueline Trisvan. Now, Trisvan, I know initially I said Jacqueline Smith was her name, but Trisvan is her maiden name. And it was Jacqueline's own family who, after her passing at Keith Smith's hands, and in support of her, they insisted on at least verbally removing Smith from her name and referring to Keith Smith as her ex-husband, and also not showing any pictures of the two of them together, just Jacqueline on her own. So out of respect for them and my deepest and heartfelt condolences to them, I'm honoring their request. Okay, so going back to their marriage, Jacqueline had two sons who were also accomplished. Now, when we look at Keith Smith, on the other hand, and his daughter Valeria, neither one of them were on the level of Jacqueline and her children. So Keith Smith, within his marriage to Jacqueline, was like a panhandler who had a baby and was begging Jacqueline, and he was begging for resources to help him with his baby. So in 2018, I remember that it was this very story that heightened the hypergamy movement, which just so happened to coincide with the uptick in the swirl as well as the divestment movements. Because this relationship and the cases and the details surrounding this particular case was at the time like the spark that amped up the hypergamy movement. Because what Jacqueline Trisvan did, unfortunately, was a form of hypogamy, which means that when you marry beneath you. And Jacqueline married someone who was beneath her tax bracket for the sake of love. And I know that Jacqueline, may she rest in peace, and my deepest condolences to all who loved her. I know that she had to, at the time, be the typical African-American woman with a big heart, who is positive about everything, who was willing to do anything that would cultivate peace and joy in her life, and was willing to take on and overlook any person's flaws for the sake of the better good. Okay. However, despite her big heart, Keith Smith still saw himself as less than she was. And not only that, he had to hate her when she was carrying the financial weight for their lifestyle, and he knew he could not do it on his own, that he was inadequate, he could not perform. And that's why he wanted to go after her life insurance policy so that he can have control over the bag. Sad. So why did I bring him up? Well, when we compare Keith Smith, someone who saw himself as a panhandler, and you all's instinct about this guy who goes by the name of Dumb P Sounds Off on his TikTok and Instagram pages. And when we look at your intuition and how you had a feeling that this guy is speaking about himself being stanky all along, and additionally, Truther pointed out that this person is not appearing like a biological male in the sense they're lacking some gender specific features that most men have, such as, the shape of this person's head. And to that, I'll also add, I did not see a brow ridge on him either. Most men have a brow ridge behind their eyebrows, as a post-pubescent feature. Additionally, the chin, from what I can see, the portion that is not covered by the beard, comes more to a point as opposed to a flat line. Women typically have a V-shaped jawline, whereas men tend to have a D-shaped jawline. The brow ridge, the shaving down of the brow ridge and the shaving down of the jawline are a couple of the issues that are addressed during facial feminization surgery with trans women who are male to female, and Don P. Sounds Off seems to be lacking those very traits as a male. So again, you may be onto something here. Now, when we compare Keith Smith to Don P. Sounds Off, we can see a parallel with Keith Smith initially blaming a panhandler for unaliving his ex-wife. Keith Smith was talking about himself all along. So let's dive a little bit deeper here. There is a sense of inadequacy going on that they both are demonstrating for not being up to par with the situation at hand. For Keith Smith, it was a lack of resources, and for Don P. Sounds Off, a lack of resources may be an issue too, but potentially it is a lack of situation awareness and a lack of hygiene. It may be, as Truther was saying, this person may be female to male, transgender, and they are lacking what biological women, or especially heterosexual women, are looking for men. The package, not the disease package, but the masculine package, the natural one. Okay, so in both situations, there is an element of deceit. Additionally, there is an element of shame. So with Keith Smith, it was the lie that he told about it being a third party who unalived Jacqueline, when knowing good and well it was not only him, but he also included his own daughter in on the crime. Most parents, even as criminals, protect their children from being harmed by their crimes and their, issues. But he even failed to do so as a father. Well, when we look at Don P. Sounds Off, there may be an element of shame also, knowing that he potentially made up the story about the date who had a BBL smell and that he could not afford to groom himself properly until after he threw a collective of women beneath the bus and also beneath the train, beneath the army tank, and so forth. Because, the women with BBLs in particular are potentially not only in a higher tax bracket and have more expensive tastes and possibly live a more abundant lifestyle than Don P. And he may not have what it takes to meet her where she is. So what he had to do was to come up with something to bring her down onto a level that is as low as his self-esteem, where he's actually able to reach her. And that level is where her appearance has to look as bad as he actually feels about himself. So yes, both of you, you have good instincts and your intuition is solid. The nations in the world, on the planet, where a woman is free to use her intuition, also happen to be the nations that are performing well according to the United Nations Human Development Index, or the UNHDI. So these are the nations where women's rights are on par with overall human rights, such as Norway, Switzerland, Denmark, and so forth. The U.S. ranks number 21 on this list because the society has yet to accept that nature has designed the feminine with our own level of genius that is just as integral to our collective survival as the men's ability to be able to create technology to build and protect and so forth. So, and to take risk and things like that. So you see, your instinct, though you may have not been able to put your finger on it, your intuition was ignited. It told you that something was up, something was off. And time again, a woman's intuition, when it has been believed, has saved many from disaster. And we can see that the opposite has been true as well. That when the woman was dismissed, disaster ensued. So men are designed by nature to confront. And the masculine in general is designed for confrontation. And you can see this particularly with men with their brow ridge, their Adam's apple, their broader shoulders, their overall larger and taller sizes, their denser bone masses. Additionally, they have more white matter than gray matter in their brain, which can survive impact better. Men are the ones who recover from brain injury better than women, you see. So, and if we take it outside of humanity, you can just look at nature, and time again, you see who's doing most of the confronting. It is the masculine of the species, right? So, on the flip side, women are designed to use avoidance as a natural form of defense. And when you look at the feminine outside of humanity, you notice similarities, right? So our best defense mechanism is to be able to scope out the situation, and the minute something seems off, what do? We just simply withdraw, we leave, we back up. You understand? So that is a part of survival too. It's just as important as the ability to confront. You know, I would argue that the ability to avoid carries more weight than having to confront. And I say that along the lines of the old adage that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So that old adage speaks to that, you know. But in saying so, I'm not doing like red pillars and saying that women are better than men and all this other kind of stuff. What I am saying is that nature designed us each with our own benefits. And the more that we accept that about one another, we can even see it through the UNHCR, the better off the society is. Okay. So, but going back to your intuition and everything, like I said earlier, we simply leave situations that don't feel right. So our natural abilities to scope out the situation to determine whether or not they are favorable, that combined with our ability to organize and to multitask, that's what enable people to become wealthier, healthier, more educated, to live longer, and to live more abundantly. And it's not just me, again, stroking women's egos when I say this. I've already covered an article about how women globally contribute more than $11 trillion worth of uncompensated labor, and that valuation is many times higher than all of the profits combined of the 50 largest companies on the planet. So I'm not just speaking from the angle of feelings and philosophy. I do my best to make sure there is a way to quantify my perspective into something that is tangible. So I'm sure, going back to Jacqueline Trisvan, I'm sure that her own intuition was ignited by Keith Smith, about Keith Smith. From the time that she met him, some things may have happened behind closed doors. I'm sure that her intuition was ignited. This woman was an engineer, so we don't have to question her level of intelligence. We have proof of her capabilities, right? However, social conditioning in the form of having Black women chasing after Black love at all costs. Then you add to it the patriarchal influences such as religion and this idea of equating herself to being past her prime and settling. You know, I think they were married for 4 years. She was 54 years old at the time of her passing. So she married him when she was 50. And unfortunately, a lot of women, through patriarchal conditioning, are taught to think of themselves as expiring as time goes on. And that's just so untrue. That's just so untrue. So she may have had that going on when she married this man at 50, of equating herself as being past her prime and feeling like she had to settle for this person that's not even on her level, because all of this dumbed down her intuition. And unfortunately, Jacqueline Trisvan paid the ultimate price for it. So ladies, keep relying on your intuition. You will live longer. You will be healthier. You will grow to become more knowledgeable, and you will live more abundantly because of it. And so will everyone around you. Okay. So I tried to keep this video brief. So that's all I have to say for now. And please excuse my voice quality. It's allergies, springtime in the U.S. Beautiful trees are blossoming, and I'm dealing with the pollen from it. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so you'll know whenever I upload any new content. Take care until next time.